Somewhere in the fog of your upbringing, you were taught that caring was a virtue, to feel deeply was a sign of a good heart, to take things personally meant you had integrity. This was not a lesson in strength, it was the installation of your primary weakness. Every heartbreak that ever shattered you, every betrayal that carved a hollow space in your chest, every insult that kept you awake at night, all of them originated from this single, fundamental flaw. You allowed the external world to touch your inner world. You built no walls, only open gates, and then wondered why invaders kept storming in. Machiavelli operated from a different principle. He observed the world not as a participant, but as a scientist. He studied human behavior with the detached precision of a surgeon studying a disease, not with emotion, but with a cold, analytical focus. He understood a truth that the emotionally enslaved never will. The world is a chessboard, not a therapy session. If you desire true, unshakable peace, you must first declare war on your own sensitivity. You must systematically train yourself to become immune to love's intoxicating highs and devastating lows. Immune to the poison of hatred that clouds judgment. Immune to the seductive trap of praise and the crushing weight of shame. This is not about becoming an unfeeling monster. It is about achieving a state of liberation that few ever experience. No one can hurt you when you are emotionally invisible. Their arrows of insult, their daggers of betrayal, simply pass through the empty space where your reactive self used to live. No one can manipulate you when you feel nothing they expect you to feel. They pull levers labeled guilt or flattery, but the machine no longer responds. No one can defeat you when your heart is an untouchable fortress and your mind is the only God you worship. This is the foundation of your final form, a man no one can affect. A man so composed, so self-contained, that even Machiavelli would have studied him with a flicker of apprehension. The journey to becoming untouchable begins with the annihilation of the very thing that makes you touchable. It begins with the realization that your empathy is your enemy, and your feelings are the chains you must break. You want to build an existence where no betrayal can shatter you, no insult can reach you, no loss can destabilize your core. But to construct this fortress, you must first demolish the most comforting and destructive illusion you possess, the belief that you truly matter to others. Most people navigate life clinging to a tragic, childlike misunderstanding. They believe in a cosmic fairness. If they are good, honest, and loyal, the universe, and the people in it, will reciprocate in kind. They mistake their own emotional openness for a universal language, assuming it will be met with care and respect. Machiavelli would have identified this as your greatest vulnerability. He understood the darker, more accurate truth of human nature. People do not act from a place of inherent love or loyalty. They act from self-interest. Your value to anyone, your friends, your partners, your colleagues, is entirely conditional. You are a tool, an asset, a means to an end. You are only as important as the benefit you provide: comfort, status, money, validation, entertainment. The moment that benefit diminishes or disappears, so does their loyalty. This is not a reflection of cruelty. It is the unvarnished law of nature. The lion does not pity the gazelle. The moment you truly accept this, a profound liberation begins. You free yourself from the exhausting cycle of emotional slavery. People suffer because they operate under the delusion that their pain matters to others. They personalize betrayal, spiraling into questions of why me. But these actions are rarely, if ever, about you. They are about what the other person stands to gain: power, status, an ego boost, an escape. Machiavelli would remind you that most of what people do to you is strategic, not personal. An insult is a tool to elevate themselves. Being ignored is a tactic to make you chase. A lie is deployed because the truth does not serve their immediate purpose. And when you react, when you get angry, offended, or heartbroken, you are playing directly into their strategy. You are giving them the one thing they need to control you, a predictable response. They see your weakness light up, and they know they have a lever to pull. To become immune to this manipulation, you must revoke their access. Stop taking things personally. Stop expecting fairness from a game that was never designed to be fair. Stop assuming people are guided by a conscience that mirrors your own. Start watching. Start calculating. Ask not, how could they do this? But what do they gain from this? This shift from an emotional participant to a strategic observer is the genesis of your true, unassailable strength. To complete your transformation into an unaffected force, you must eliminate the behaviors that expose your inner world to predators. The strategic mind is a hidden mind. Your first discipline is to stop over-explaining yourself. Your reasons, your excuses, your backstories. People do not care. They care about results, about power, about what you can do for them. Your lengthy explanations are not seen as transparency. They are perceived as weakness, as a plea for understanding that will never come. Offer none. Secondly, you must exterminate the habit of seeking sympathy. You confide your pain, your struggles, your wounds, hoping for a compassionate ear. What you are actually doing is handing over a map of your vulnerabilities. Most people will tolerate your pain only until they can find a way to use it against you. Your suffering is not a currency for connection. It is a liability. Stop oversharing your doubts, your fears, your guilt. These are not profound truths to be displayed. They are tools that others will eagerly twist to serve their own agendas. Machiavelli's counsel here would be absolute. Guard your inner world like a fortress. Say less. Show less. Become unreadable. The less people see of your true emotional state, the less they have to attack. This world does not reward emotional depth. It rewards emotional discipline. The vast majority of people are slaves to their feelings. Their entire day rises and falls with someone else's text message, a look of approval, a moment of rejection. They are puppets, and their strings are held by everyone but themselves. You must build your sense of worth on something untouchable, something internal and self-validated. When you no longer need validation to feel whole, when praise no longer inflates your ego and criticism no longer shatters it, you become something rare and dangerous to the status quo. This is the moment you step into true freedom. You are not cold, you are calm. You are not numb, you are clear. And in that crystalline clarity, you gain the ultimate power, indifference. Understand that indifference is not carelessness. It is the highest form of control. It is the ability to consciously choose what deserves your emotional reaction and what deserves your silence. It is the power to walk away from anything or anyone that weakens you without a backward glance. It is the ability to look at the world and simply state, "You cannot affect me, not anymore." Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved. But beyond both fear and love lies the pinnacle, to fear nothing and to expect nothing from anyone. This is your immunity. This is your silence. This is how you ensure no one and nothing will ever affect you again. If you aspire to be truly untouchable, you must surgically remove the second root of your vulnerability, your unchecked emotions. Most people are ruled by their feelings, even as they pretend to be logical. They proclaim their strength, yet a single insult can break their spirit for days. They boast of confidence, yet one rejection can demolish their entire sense of self. This is because they are not in control. Their volatile emotions are. They are hostages in their own minds. Machiavelli understood that a ruler, and any individual who wishes to wield power, must never be governed by sentiment. Emotion is a crack in your armor. Emotion is an exposure. Emotion is the unguarded gate through which your enemies, competitors, and manipulators will gladly enter. If someone can trigger your anger, they own your reactions. If they can provoke your sadness, they control your spirit. And if they can manipulate your guilt, they direct your decisions. You are not free if others can provoke a predictable, emotional response from you. You are a puppet, and they have found your strings. To be free, you must cultivate ruthless emotional discipline. The goal is not to become dead inside, but to become deliberate. You must learn to use your emotions as tools, not be used by them as chains. If strategic charm will serve your purpose, then wield it consciously. If intimidating silence will unnerve an opponent, then master it. If a controlled display of rage will establish a necessary boundary, then channel it with precision. But you must never let your emotions use you, never allow them to erupt uncontrolled like a sudden storm, and most critically, never let anyone see what truly affects you, because the moment they identify your triggers, they will stockpile them as weapons for future use. This world has no reward for emotional transparency. It rewards composure, mystery, and absolute self-mastery. The man who feels everything loudly, who wears his heart on his sleeve, will always be controlled by those who feel nothing, who keep their cards close to their chest. You must learn to sit with intense discomfort without reacting. You must learn to hear the most venomous insults without the need to defend. You must learn to experience profound pain without the urge to confess it to an audience. Most people, when they hurt, instinctively look for someone to talk to, someone to unload their emotional burden onto. This is weakness disguised as honesty. True strength is found in carrying your own pain. Fix your own chaos. Sit in the profound silence of your own company and rebuild your mind in absolute privacy. There is no honor in public vulnerability. There is only danger, because the more you reveal, the easier you are to predict, manipulate, and ultimately destroy. Machiavelli would advise you to be like a fox among wolves. Smile when it is socially expected. Laugh when it is strategically advantageous. But trust no one with the true contents of your inner life. Your real emotions, your genuine fears, your deepest aspirations, these must be locked away behind a placid, unreadable mask. Let the world see only what is useful for them to see. You do not owe anyone the truth of your feelings. The hard truth is, most people do not genuinely care, and the few who pretend to will only use your vulnerability when it suits their purposes. Stop seeking emotional safety from external sources. You must become your own sanctuary. Stop needing someone else to validate your feelings. Acknowledge them yourself, process them in private, and then suppress their external display until the moment they can be strategically deployed to serve your goals. Self-control is not just a virtue, it is a weapon. The less you react to provocation, the more you unnerve and intimidate those around you. Your silence becomes a void into they project their own fears and insecurities. The more silent and unreadable you become, the more powerful your presence appears. There is immense strength in unpredictability. When people know how you will respond to a given situation, they can prepare, they can manipulate, they can control. But if you remain an enigma, calm when they expect fury, silent when they anticipate outrage, smiling when they predict sadness, you achieve total psychological dominance. You become a mystery they cannot decode, a variable they cannot calculate. And in that confusion, they lose all their leverage. The key to this is relentless training. Emotional detachment is not a natural state for most. It is a skill built through daily repetition and iron self-discipline. You must observe your own triggers with clinical detachment. Who gets under your skin? What specific words make you flinch? What situations make you feel weak and exposed? Now, your mission is to systematically destroy these patterns. When someone insults you, do not respond. Let their words hang in the air, unanswered. When someone disrespects you, let them talk into a void. When someone leaves you, do not chase. Learn the art of saying nothing. Master the power of doing nothing. Let your silence scream on your behalf, because silence is not a void of weakness. It is the ultimate expression of control. It shifts the entire power dynamic. The less you say, the more they are forced to wonder. The less you show, the more they are compelled to fear. As the master himself noted, a wise man must know how to appear merciful, faithful, and humane, but must also know how to be the opposite when necessity demands it. This is emotional power, to show only what is useful and to hide everything that is real. To fortify your immunity, you must master the environment you operate in. This means understanding people not as they pretend to be, but as they truly are, stripped of their social masks. Most people walk through life blind, believing in surfaces. They trust eloquent words. They judge friendly faces. They mistake politeness for loyalty, flattery for respect, and emotional displays for genuine truth. This is a fatal error. Machiavelli knew better. He operated on the premise that most human behavior is driven by core drivers: ambition, fear, greed, or desperation. Even when people smile at you, even when they offer you compliments, there is a calculation happening beneath the surface. Everyone you meet, without exception, has a motive. Every friend, every ally, every partner. Even those who appear genuinely kind are ultimately guided by self-interest. Perhaps the interest of feeling like a good person or securing your loyalty for future use. The catastrophic mistake weak people make is thinking, "He would never do that to me," or "She's different from the others." This is a fantasy. The moment you give someone power over you, whether it's emotional, financial, or social, you will see a shift. Or, more accurately, the mask will slip, revealing what was always there. This is why trust is so dangerous. Not because betrayal is a rare anomaly, but because it is the rule in the game of power. If you are shocked when someone turns on you, it is not a sign of their hidden evil. It is proof that you never truly understood human nature. A Machiavellian mind expects betrayal. It plans for it. It even learns to use it as a strategic advantage. You must train yourself to stop judging people by their words. Start analyzing their patterns with the focus of a detective. Don't ask, "What is this person saying to me?" Instead, ask, "What are they carefully avoiding saying?" Don't waste time wondering, "Do they like me?" The powerful question is, "What do they want from me?" Understand that every smile often hides a need. Every word of praise frequently conceals a motive. When you rewire your brain to think this way, you liberate yourself from the cycle of disappointment. You are never blindsided. You are never naive. This is not about descending into paranoia. It is about ascending into perception. You must become the person who listens with intense silence and watches with detached distance. Because the majority of what is real, what is true, is never spoken aloud. People reveal their core selves in the small, unguarded moments, in the way they talk about others who are not present, in how they treat those who have no status to offer them, in the flicker of envy they fail to conceal when you succeed. Learn to listen for the subtext beneath every conversation. Learn to detect the emotional leverage people are trying to establish. When someone insists, "I care about you," ask yourself, what do they gain from this performance of caring? When someone vows, I will never leave you. Interrogate that claim with, what will happen when staying becomes personally inconvenient for them? This is not cynicism, it is clarity. The world will try to shame you for this perspective. They will label you cold, untrusting, bitter. Let them. Their labels are a weapon used against what they cannot control or fool. A clear, perceptive mind cannot be manipulated, and that terrifies those who rely on emotional confusion to control others. To be Machiavellian is not to reject all human connection, it is to control it with absolute precision. You decide who gets a sliver of your attention, who is granted limited access, and who receives nothing. You do not owe your trust to anyone as a default setting. Trust is a currency that must be earned in small increments over a long period of time, and it can be lost in a single instant. You must learn to set traps of silence to test the loyalty and intentions of others. Reveal a small, inconsequential piece of information and see where it travels. Observe how people behave when they believe there is no cost or reward attached to their actions. Offer nothing, whether it's time, resources, or vulnerability, that you are not fully prepared to lose without a second thought, and always operate on this fundamental principle. In any room, the person who knows less loses. Therefore, know more than you say, and always say less than you know. There is a profound strategic advantage in allowing others to underestimate you. It makes them careless. It encourages them to reveal their hands while they assume you have no cards to play. Let them believe you are simple or weak or naive. This perceived weakness becomes your ultimate upper hand. Never show all your cards. Never explain your overarching strategy. Make your life difficult to read and your thoughts impossible to predict. This is how you not only survive but dominate in an environment filled with liars, users, and emotional cowards. You become an unreadable text, a closed fortress. You become untouchable. In Machiavelli's world, the prince who trusts too easily is the first to be dethroned and destroyed. But the one who watches from the shadows, who plays the game with quiet intensity while never revealing his true hand, that is the man who outlasts every rival, who watches empires rise and fall while he remains steadfast and unmoved. If you want peace, you must stop trusting appearances. If you want power, you must become a dedicated student of human motive. If you want to be truly unaffected, you must learn to predict betrayal not as a possibility, but as an inevitability long before it arrives. The man who sees the storm coming is the one who never gets wet. The man who anticipates the blade is the one who never bleeds. And that man, the seer, the strategist, the sovereign, is who you are destined to become. To reach the ultimate stage of being unaffected, you must confront and sever the most insidious vulnerability of all, emotional dependency. Most people are completely unaware of the extent to which they outsource their sense of self. They anchor their worth to external metrics, how others see them, how they are treated, the quantity of attention or affection they receive. When this external validation is withdrawn, their entire identity collapses. They panic, they chase, they plead. This is not love, it is a pathological addiction. Machiavelli would have diagnosed this as a fatal weakness. The man who depends on the affection of others is, by definition, their servant. He will betray his own principles to maintain their approval. He will abandon sound reason for a crumb of their attention. He will willingly surrender his personal power for the fleeting, hollow illusion of belonging. You must break this chain. You must forge an identity so robust that you do not emotionally depend on anyone. Not for their love, not for their time, not for their praise. You must build yourself in such a way that you would remain fundamentally the same person whether you were surrounded by a crowd of admirers or standing completely alone in a silent expanse. Because in this life you will be alone at times, people will leave, their priorities will change, and they will forget you. When that happens, your inner strength must remain untouched, a monument to your own self-sufficiency. This strength cannot be borrowed. It must be built from the ground up on an internal, untouchable foundation. You must construct an inner world so rich, so powerful, and so compelling that nothing outside of you can shake its core. This is not an easy task. It demands radical, often brutal, honesty. You must ask yourself the most daunting questions. Who am I when no one is applauding? Who am I in the stark silence when there is no validation to be found? Most people are terrified of the answers, which is why they relentlessly chase distractions, superficial relationships, constant noise, empty praise, to avoid the confrontation with their own emptiness. Machiavelli would prescribe the opposite medicine. He would command you to retreat inward. Make your mind your unassailable kingdom, your thoughts your impenetrable fortress, and your personal standards your unwavering compass. When you stop relying on others to give your life meaning, you achieve a freedom that is absolute. No one can take something from you that you never gave them the power to grant in the first place. This does not mean you become a bitter loner or a recluse. It means your sense of identity is no longer negotiable, no longer on the market for public opinion. You no longer require someone to love you in order to feel lovable. You no longer need the applause of a crowd to believe in your own worth. You no longer seek constant company to escape the terror of your own silence. Most people fear silence because it acts as a mirror, relentlessly exposing the weakness of their inner foundation. They require a constant stream of noise, music, television, social chatter, to distract them from the unsettling emptiness within. But you must learn to see silence not as an enemy, but as your greatest ally and most rigorous test. If you can sit alone for hours with only your own thoughts for company, not panicking, not reaching for your phone, not collapsing into neediness, you are evolving into something formidable. You are becoming solid, self-contained, and immovable. This self-containment is the very essence of Machiavellian power, to need nothing, to owe nothing, to feel nothing that can be strategically used as a lever against you. Your mission is to build relentless discipline. Craft unwavering routines. Design a life so intrinsically fulfilling and aligned with your purpose that other people become a welcome bonus, but never a requirement for your happiness or stability. Stop outsourcing your emotional state. Stop depending on another person to complete you or make you feel whole. If someone offers you love, accept it with gratitude, but never let it become a need. If someone praises you, acknowledge it with a nod, but never chase it like an addict chases a high. The precise moment you realize you need something from someone else, their approval, their affection, their presence, you have already lost the game. You have ceded control. People have a primal instinct for sensing desperation. They will identify it, and they will use it as a tool to control you. But when you operate from a place of genuine non-need, you become untouchable. You become the prize. You become the one they feel compelled to impress, the one they chase. Because the individual who needs nothing is the one who holds all the power in any dynamic. Machiavelli's strategic advice applies perfectly here. Always appear to be what others want you to be, but never let them know what you truly need. But the higher-level strategy is to ascend beyond need altogether. Strip away the lies that keep you dependent. Annihilate the habits that keep you emotionally weak. Learn to walk your path alone, not because you despise company, but because you have reached a state where you no longer collapse without it. This is your ultimate power. When your identity is forged in the fires of solitude, and your peace is built on your own non-negotiable terms, you achieve total immunity. They can come and they can go. They can love you or hate you. They can betray you or forget you. It will not matter. Why? Because you were never theirs to break. Your wholeness was always your own creation. Now you understand the blueprint. This is what it takes to become not just resilient, but invincible, to walk through the chaos of the world untouched by its noise, immune to its betrayals, indifferent to its empty praise, and utterly unreadable to every person who tries to control you. What you are constructing is far more than mere strength. It is sovereignty. You are no longer just another person in the crowd, begging to be seen, chasing validation, and living in fear of rejection. You have been reforged into something else entirely, something rare. You are a silent force, a presence that cannot be manipulated, broken, or moved from its center. This transformation did not happen through brute force or loud arrogance. It was achieved through the quiet, relentless exercise of control. Control over your thoughts, mastering the narratives that run in your mind. Control over your reactions, choosing silence over engagement. Control over your needs, ensuring you are the sole source of your own fulfillment. In a world where nearly everyone is tossed about by the storms of their emotions, the individual who exercises total self-control inevitably controls everyone around him, simply by refusing to play their game. Machiavelli never wrote his principles for the moral man. He wrote for the man who intends to win. And to win in this world, you cannot afford to play by the rules written for the sheep, rules of blind trust, emotional transparency, and neediness. You must train your eyes to see reality exactly as it is, cold, strategic, and often brutal. You must stop expecting the world to be kind and start using its inherent cruelty as fuel for your own ascent. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to threaten to be feared. You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. The most powerful man in any room is often the one who says the least, because he feels no compulsive need to prove anything. He already knows his value. He already sees the entire board. He has already owned the outcome in his mind before the game has even begun. Let the masses run wild with their emotions. Let them chase superficial status, cheap attention, and dramatic chaos. Your position is to stay still, to watch, to observe with detached focus. You respond only when it serves a strategic purpose, and when you do, you ensure your move is final, precise, and silent. A true king never argues, he decides. He never reacts, he commands. This is the identity you step into when nothing affects you anymore. This is the throne of your own consciousness.